Hey guys, I was not expecting that sound. Welcome or welcome back. Tisha here, and it has been too long. I'm back. I am not 100% yet. I think I'm operating out of 90 because I still have a cough, but it is not to the point where it was, and I am grateful. Thank you all so much for those of you who sent me your well wishes and your prayers. I still have a lot of comments to respond to, but it really did mean a lot to me, and I appreciate you all. So I said, let me give you guys something. Let me make it known now that I'm probably going to be changing up things a little bit. In the past, I posted every single day. And I think I saw that Lisa even put it down in the comments that she thinks that I have slight OCD about posting. And Lisa, I think you're right. So I'm going to do better at not forcing so much upon myself, which means I plan on posting 5 days a week. Now, there may be some days where I do post more, but I want to give myself a little bit more wiggle room so I, can just operate from a healthy space. Because who wants to come up here and watch somebody and they're not giving their best? And I feel like you all deserve that. So I'm back. And we're going to start, even though this is out of order, because technically I should be giving you a book right now, but I feel like I wanted to give you Elisa and Other Sister Wives, and then I may jump back into the book. But let's just get started. So this episode really to me was kind of blah, if I'm being honest, because it was a lot of things that we've already seen repeated when it came to Mary and Janelle. But we're going to go over it. There will be some things that I leave out because they do a lot of flashbacks. If there's something that I leave out that you want to discuss, please feel free to put it in the comments. If you haven't done so already, just go ahead and like the video. It helps out the channel, and we'll begin. So we open up with Mary letting us know that she's still dealing with the lies, the deception, and the evil of the catfish. Her words, not mine. As a result, she is finding it hard to know who she can trust. So with all of this, she's going to visit Nancy with Janelle. If she hasn't dealt with the catfish, to me, she shouldn't have been worried about her dynamic with Janelle, but this is something that she wanted to work on prior to the whole catfish incident. So we are reminded of the dynamic with these two ladies and how rocky it's been, and how a year ago, Janelle finally decided that she wanted to try to work things out with Mary, but Mary needed to think about it once it was presented to Mary. They talked, and now they want to do something about it. Janelle says that the Mary that she's known has always been so strong. So looking at what has transpired now, with the catfish, she finds it hard that Mary gave so much credence to the threats of this unknown person. And I feel like that is because Mary knew what she was doing. If Mary wasn't being sneaky and having the various conversations that we now know were recorded and saying the different things that she was saying, then the catfish wouldn't have had anything to use against Mary. The catfish wouldn't have had any ground to stand upon. But Mary did some things that did involve emotional cheating, and as a result, the catfish had leverage, okay? So she feels that this may be a good time for them to, learn to connect better with one another, because at this time more than ever, Mary does need family. And Mary feels like it would be a good time too. So Janelle doesn't really want to talk about the past and go blow by blow because of the complications of it. To me, that just feels like they're kind of sweeping things under the rug. And I feel like when so many things have occurred that have with them, that at some point you have to deal with the bad to get to the good. But I guess everybody doesn't operate from that frame. You all let me know down below. So we find out that Mary and Janelle met the summer after she graduated from high school. She dated Mary's brother, eventually got married to him, but it was a short marriage. Janelle says it was 11 months. Mary says that they were acquaintances, where Janelle's saying that they were friends. Janelle even says that she remained friends with the family after the divorce. So I don't quite understand why Mary's saying one thing and then Janelle is saying other. Either way, at some point, these two were cordial. So shortly after Mary started dating Cody, she wanted to introduce Janelle to Cody. And I'm like, okay, Mary, if you're saying that you guys were acquaintances, why would you even feel the need to have an introduction with Janelle and Cody? If you're my acquaintance, it's not necessary for you to meet my man. Maybe it's just me, but I don't quite understand it. So they went to Janelle's house and they were introduced. Janelle called later to Mary and was like, I thought you were going to tell me that you were engaged or something, and that's why you wanted me to introduce him. And Mary was like, no, not yet. So I think Mary, if I'm correct, never dated anyone before Cody, which just goes to show how naive a lot of the women that Cody got were. And Cody took advantage of that. So 6 months after Mary and Cody got married, they then rented a part of Janelle's house. Now, when you say you rented a part of Janelle's house, that means that there were other parts that were available, which makes me feel like during this time they were all living together. But I'm not sure. If you know, put it down below. So we hear that the three of them spent a lot of time together, and that at some point Janelle ended up being a part of their church. And then shortly after she joined the church, Cody started courting her. The book says something a little bit different, to the point where Janelle was helping Cody get a job and they started feeling feelings, whatever. But we'll just go with what they're telling us now, because there are so many different versions of this story. But this is the one that we're going to go with today, that Janelle and him got together after she joined the church. As we've heard time and time again, Janelle was new to the faith, and she thought that they would be able to get married and that they would be able to coexist happily. I personally do not see how any of them could think that they would be able to do that without doing the work. I think about merging of households with just myself and my man, and the thought of it stresses me out. And we're just talking about two people, where I'm not even including kids and all that other stuff. I'm just talking about myself being me in my apartment and my things, and him in his house and his things. And the thought of that alone, without adding the personalities and the dynamic and the differences in how we do things, stresses me out. So how is it that this woman, who was previously married and the marriage was not successful, wouldn't think, you know what, maybe this may require a little more than just a merger of household, especially since we're talking about not one, but two other people that she will be adding to her life. I don't understand how these people couldn't think that this would be complicated. Janelle said she didn't know a thing. And at that age, she just didn't think of things in those terms. As I said before, this wasn't her first marriage. She was young, but she had already seen how a marriage could be unsuccessful. So I would think that there were certain steps that she might have wanted to take before jumping into something else. But that's just my thoughts. You all let me know yours. Cody feels like it's possible that before Janelle and him got married, that Mary became more territorial and more clingy. He claims that he was not aware of it until after he married Janelle. Mary says in the year that she had known Janelle before, they weren't that close, but she'd hoped that they would be closer, which goes back to, why did you want for Janelle to meet Cody if you weren't close? Was this a way of Mary trying to brag and say, like, hey, look at my man, because she was so enamored by Cody? Or was this really her legitimately thinking that that would help them form some type of foundation? I'm not quite sure, and I don't really get it, but okay, y'all tell me what you think. She says she felt like when sister wives had a good relationship, that it would make the family dynamics even better. But listening to this, it doesn't seem to me like they ever had a great relationship once Cody and Janelle were involved. And none of these situations involved them working on their sister-wife dynamic. That's one thing that I appreciated in reading the book Love Times 3 with the Dargers. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. We learned a lot in that book because we were shown the various ways that those ladies dated each other, basically. And they did it in a friend way where they learned about one another and they created their own platonic relationships where they formed their own sisterhood with each other so that they could successfully navigate that and that didn't interfere with their marriages. But here, that isn't something that these women worked upon. They even said that they needed to make sure in that book that their relationships were just as strong as their relationship with their husband, because if it wasn't, it would trickle down into the other relationships. So those people put in work, but these ones didn't. Christine says before Mary met Cody, Janelle and Mary were friends. And it just didn't work that way after they got married. The Bird thinks that jealousy is what happened, and Mary admits she was jealous. She says, despite being being a part of a plural family, most of her life, she had 3 years where Cody was all hers. He was her best friend, and they did everything together. And then here comes someone else who now is a part of things. She said they had never been apart until Janelle and his honeymoon. And to me, that just shows that it created room for resentment. Because if you spent all this time with this man and you didn't understand that now there's going to be a wife that's going to come in and she's going to have to create her own relationship with him as well, and y'all aren't doing the work to prepare for this, yeah, you're going to have some issues there. So Cody feels it's normal to be jealous. He says the tensions arise, and he felt like it was a territorial challenge. Mary said she'd be vocal about things, and Janelle didn't say anything, so she would think it was fine. But Janelle felt like she was loud and that she told her everything and said that everything that Janelle basically was doing was wrong. She did not grow up in a home with conflict, and she just couldn't deal. I feel like people misuse conflict, and conflict can be different things to different people. To me, just because I'm making you aware of something that maybe you don't agree with does not mean we're having a conflict. To me, it can be a simple difference of opinion. To me, conflict arises when it gets argumentative or combative. But I guess different things cause different reactions in various people. Janelle felt that Mary was extremely confrontational. She used to work, she says, as an escape because it was just easier for her to be at work rather than being there. And that speaks volumes. If you're in a situation where you avoid home because you just don't want to deal, that means that home really isn't happy, which may explain why in the book Janelle said that she left and had her own place. Christine came along and she brought calm to the family. Janelle says that Christine and Mary had more of a sister-wife dynamic, and Christine says she eventually became the go-between for Mary and Janelle, and that she immediately noticed how easily Janelle and Mary were offended when there wasn't even an offensive situation happening, which makes me wonder which one of them between Christine and Cody ever made it known like there's nothing for either one of you to be offended about. I think that they allowed for a lot of things to happen without stepping in, and that caused even further issues. Christine said they cooked differently and they were polar opposites, whereas with Christine, she kind of came in and decided to take on a little bit of both. So she did a little bit of what Mary did in terms of cooking and a little bit of what Janelle did in terms of cooking. And I just don't understand how this cooking thing is such a big deal. We're still not being told a lot of things, okay? So 3 years ago, Mary was ready to work on it, but Janelle wasn't. Mary says that she saw some of the things that she did that led to their conflicts. Basically, she was convicted about it. And as a result, she felt like she needed to apologize and try to work on things with Janelle. But Janelle, when she said something to her, wasn't interested in dealing with it. So now here we are 20 years later, a hug and a catfish that everyone still doesn't know about. And they're going to attempt to work at this. But we'll get back to that because the next part is the baby shower. So Christine and Mindy, Robin's niece, are throwing this baby shower for Robin along with the other sister wives. But really, it's just Christine and Mindy. Christine has now become the event coordinator that has taken over everything. Mindy is Robin's niece from one of Robin's siblings that does not share the same mother as Robin. She was raised in a plural family, and she is willing to be a part of a plural family as long as the bond is strong. Mindy says that with the Browns, she doesn't see it as where they're just siblings because they have the same father, but she sees it as all of these women's children are close. She sees that they are all actually intertwined, and she points out that the Browns are not perfect because there are definitely some things she would do differently, but she does appreciate their dynamic. We see Cody, who comes over to compliment Christine on all of her hard work because Christine is doing a lot and he's doing it for his precious bird. He loves seeing Christine do things for his bird. So Janelle says her contribution to all of this is the cupcakes because the details of parties just drive her nuts. And we all know that this is not Janelle's thing. Christine says that one of the things that she likes is that Robin has been more feisty with this pregnancy. I personally don't think it had to do anything with the pregnancy. I think that once Robin got that legal marriage, Robin knew that she could put down the act. She could stop with the whole, I'm going to act like I'm the best sister wife on earth. And I love these women oh so much because I got what I needed, which is this legal marriage. And now my kids are adopted, so I could be exactly who I really am. Janelle feels like she used to keep her arguments with Cody more private, but now she's more open about it. Christine said that Robin is not afraid to make her opinions known. She's going to say it like it is, and she's not holding back. Mary says she's basically a little me. I don't really know if I'd say that, Mary, but this is who Robin is. Cody says Robin is at the last stages of her pregnancy. It's hard for her to feel special, but Christine is doing a wonderful job. Once again, as long as Christine is doting on his bird, then the bald eagle is happy because we know that he loves when the bird feels included, which goes back to me saying she tried to make it seem so many times like her kids were not a part and she wasn't a part. But here we see yet again another instance where she's getting treatment that we know the other wives didn't get. So Cody says what he's going to do is he's going to take the boys that want to go and they're going to leave. So Christine went all out. I mean, she built a castle out of diapers. It was very pretty. She did a lot. She had all these different little games and all these other things. Robin arrives with her two daughters, and her entrance was a little awkward to me. Maybe like she wanted an applause or to announce Robin is here or something, because she just stood there like, but maybe I'm nitpicking. Y'all let me know. Christine's mother greets her with a hug, and as she's doing this, Alice, who is coming in with Robin, does not even speak to Christine's mom. She walks past her. I personally think that Alice is rude, but Christine's mom is better than me, and she follows behind her, and she says, hey, Alice. They talk about, with plural, marriage and the community and how most of the time when it comes to baby showers, there are two different ones. You'll have one with the church people, you know, the ones who know about your lifestyle and your situation. And then you would have another one that friends that don't know anything else besides you being pregnant. Robin says this is one of the good things about them going public because it allows them to be open. So they're in their home, in their cul-de-sac, comfortably with people who appreciate them and accept them for who they are. So we see them do baby games. While the game is going on, I noticed that there's a completely empty table. And I also noticed that Mary's best friend, Jen, was in attendance. They feel like it's one of the better baby showers. Robin says you would think that the tea was spiked because of how much fun that everybody was having, which means they had a really good time. Mary and Robin have in the past seen baby showers where the other wives do not seem to be happy and they seem to be very uncomfortable. And Mary says it's because it's proof that that wife and that husband are being intimate. Robin says that because of the relationships that these wives have built together, that they are all happy, that they all love each other and each other's kids, and the shower is good. It's obvious that you all weren't all happy, because if you were all happy, then you wouldn't have Mary, who got put into the situation with the catfish, because she would have been satisfied with the dynamic of what was going on in her household. She would feel included. She would feel like she mattered. So all of you all aren't happy, but the bird is happy, and that's all that matters, people. The bird is happy. Time for Nancy. So Cody hopes that the ladies can work it out, but he feels like they're in for a long haul. He says this more than once. He says that he's seen plural families in the Cold War, which makes me wonder why they thought that it was okay to operate this way for so long. He said that the marriage and the kids could be great, but those two moms may just never work it out. And I want to know, how is this okay? In their faith, how is that okay? See, the Browns had us fooled for a long time, because they've presented themselves like they were this faith-driven family, but there are so many instances where they've shown that they've operated outside of their faith, because their faith teaches forgiveness, and yet they haven't shown it. Because if they did truly forgive one another, this would not be something that has now lingered for over 20 years. Christine is very excited that the ladies are going to go through with therapy. The Bird and Christine point out that there are so many relationships that involve their family, and that when things are off with one, it makes it off for all. So y'all were okay with being off for all these years? I'll pass. Nancy starts the session by asking, what ground rules would they like for there to be? Janelle says her main thing is that she does not want to focus on the past. Mary doesn't understand how they'll be able to get through things if they don't talk about it, and I kind of agree. But Nancy says, are we here to construct a present and future relationship, or are we here to just reconstruct? Which basically doesn't acknowledge what Mary is saying. But Janelle says she wants to do a present and future, and Mary says that's fair. So Mary's like, okay, I'm just going to go with this. Nancy points out, so the past will only be used when you say things like, I didn't feel safe when, which means at some points they will have to acknowledge the past. So they do role reversal. Janelle is supposed to imitate Mary, and Mary is supposed to imitate Janelle. Janelle says, I'm trying to talk to you about this thing, but you're just checking out. It's like you don't care. Mary says, is that supposed to be me? And Janelle says, yes. She says, well, then she nailed it, because I do get frustrated with her, and my walls as a result go up. She does not like when she's disengaged. She hates when Janelle is disengaged. She struggles with understanding why she shuts down the way she does. Nancy says, we all make up what we think is going on in another person's mind. Let's start with what's going on in your mind. So Mary says, I just don't want to talk, and I don't want to deal with it. It's just too much past stuff. I don't want to deal with it. Janelle says, it's painful to watch Mary imitate me as well as see her reactions. It's very revealing, but she did do a good job, and her portrayal of me is fair. Janelle says she's learning that it takes her a few minutes to know what she's feeling, and sometimes it just takes time for her to formulate her words. She was raised to be kind to everybody, regardless of how mean they were to her, and I was not raised that way, so I can't relate to that. She didn't know how to deal with somebody who was directly in her face. So she disengaged. Cody says that Janelle and Mary are different in every way, and the only likeness that they have is that they are women, which is so ironic to me, Because I understand that these women are going to be different and that you're not going to marry the same person. No two people are the same. But I would think that there would be more similarities than just that they're women. Like maybe that they both love you, or maybe that they both come from the same faith. But it seems like Cody doesn't see that as the case. So Janelle says Mary has this gift of knowing what she wants and being able to verbalize it. And that for Janelle, she needs to learn not to take her directness as being offensive. And I'm just like, this is 20 years later and you're just realizing this? Which makes me think of how many times, because of the way that Mary addressed things with Janelle, that Janelle was offended. That's a lot of years to heal. Because if you're offended, in some way she was hurt, in some way she was triggered by the things that Mary said. So that's over 20 years of that. Mary says she has to learn how to communicate Janelle's way too. Janelle says the problem is Mary gets offended when I don't know how to think and I can't speak right away. Please tell me down below if that's a thing, because I don't want to make it seem like Janelle is lying about this. I do believe that Janelle is someone who has to process things. There are times when I find myself struggling to verbalize my thoughts, but for me, it's not because I can't think of how I'm feeling. I know exactly how I'm feeling. And to me, listening to Janelle, it sounds like she's struggling with both. And I just don't struggle with feelings. So I'm finding it hard to relate to her. I understand that Janelle is a very analytical type of person, but the fact that she struggles with tapping into her feelings, that's no man's land to me. So if you know more about that, seriously, put it down below, because I'm confused about that. She says she gets offended by how direct she is. Nancy says, you two are clearly different. Mary comes with courage, and Janelle, you come with an ability to trust. You have counter strengths, and you're in an ideal position to help each other grow if you choose to. Neither one of them thought about it that way, but they like it. Bottom line is they need to learn to work together and respect each other's differences. Janelle says it's a new concept to embrace the talents of each other and to become a better whole. This family never did any work, because to me, I would think that as a family, that would be one of the main things that you wanted to do, was to be a whole. Y'all said it a few times, but you never really did it. The ladies are going to try to implement some things, and as a result, her and Janelle are going to go shopping together for some Thanksgiving stuff. This is something that they've never done before. Cody reiterates that he feels like they're in this for the long haul. I don't think that Cody really wanted them to get along. I think that after watching Cody over the years, Cody liked for there to be some type of division amongst these women, because whenever they were getting along, especially in later years, he complained about it. They're in for a lot of deep understanding, according to Cody, that they haven't even given him. And I'm like, okay, at this point, Cody, this has nothing to do with you. Why are you talking about yourself? But he had to add that. So he said he's going to pray that with faith, this can work out. So Janelle and Mary head out to do some centerpiece shopping for Thanksgiving. Janelle wants to go to the Nines for Thanksgiving. So Christine said that Janelle's like, I'm so excited about shopping for Thanksgiving this year. And I think I'm going to ask Mary, why don't we go do it together? Both Robin and Christine were so surprised and felt like they entered another universe. They even teased Janelle and asked what planet they were on. Mary doesn't feel like it's wise for them to go out shopping together, but she's going to do it. I'm learning that sometimes just approaching something with a positive attitude really does make a difference. They just had a therapy session with Nancy that said one of the things you all need to do is working on seeing things from each other's perspective, and this would be a great way to do it. So go ahead and give it a try. So Janelle and her go out. Janelle looks at this wreath and she loves it so much that at one point she's talking about spreading it out on the table and putting candles in it, and then another she's talking about putting it on her door. So she has to process through everything and figure out whether or not she wants this. Whereas Mary's thing is, I don't understand why she has to process this. It's a simple question. Do you want the wreath? Yes or no? So this is where Mary needs to do some of her homework from therapy and take into account how Janelle does things and move accordingly. She says, I need to be patient with her and learn to trust her process. And I also need to be okay if I also need her to be okay if I spout off something because that's just what I feel in the moment. Now, Mary, it's okay for you to say what you feel sometimes, but you do know sometimes certain things will be offensive. So don't say, oh, I'm going to just say what I want to say and then maybe I'll apologize about it later and approach it from a calmer way. You need to do the work to make sure that you're not always coming off as offensive. Mary says, if they understand this about each other, if they understood the way that each other operated 20 years ago, things would have been a lot better. Christine says that she thinks it's going to take them a long time to figure out how simple this solution is. Us making a whole episode about this just shows me how simple it's not, at least not for these two, because it took you 20 years to realize that you needed to consider each other's feelings. I would think that your doctrine said that. The Bird says it's just them figuring out, when I talk like this, it makes her feel like this. Mary says even though all their issues, even in all their issues, she knows that Janelle has always, focused on the family and that she wants what's good for her as well. And that when Mary was in Alaska, one of the things she loved was how Janelle had her back and how she was, encouraging her to do what she felt that she needed to do. And we did see that. Janelle said, even though we have our issues, I do care about Mary. And Mary said that that was cool for her to hear. Janelle says when it comes down to it, she knows that Mary would defend her. Janelle took her time, but she eventually did get the wreath, and they both agreed that it was a good first try for them. They don't know what it will look like in the end, but they're both willing to try. And that is the end of this episode. Wasn't a lot of good parts to it, in my opinion. It was dragging, and I was like, oh my goodness, we're really sitting here and going over this again and again. But it just shows how complicated the dynamic with these two ladies were and how jealousy just bled into the family on so many levels. And I don't just blame the women for this. I blame Cody. As him supposed to be the head of his household and the patriarch, at some point he should have tried to encourage them to work this situation out. But I really don't feel like it's something that he wanted to do. You all let me know down below if you think that Cody really wanted for Mary and Janelle to work this out. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time.